So let's transition into the next exercise. It's called 50 Ways to $50,000. And we're not actually going to use $50,000, but this exercise came about because it's Rhonda's invention. So she runs these discount movie theaters. And a couple of years ago, the movie industry transitioned from old reels to digital projectors. And so she has 3 or 4 screens per theater, 3 theaters. She needed $2 million on about 2 years' notice to switch all of her theaters over. And for her at the time, $2 million was like the big ones, AMC and all the big movie theaters are paid for the switch by the movie companies. But small independents like Rhonda, most of them have gone out of business. And Rhonda didn't want to do that, and her why was for people. She has 50 employees, she provides them great jobs and healthcare and all of these benefits in rural Pennsylvania and upstate New York. And she said, what can I do to earn that money? So that was her really clear why. And the amount that she needed felt so far out of reach. Yeah. $2 million, right? On 18 months or 2 years notice. So she came up with this game, which she called 50 Ways to $50,000. The first step, choose an amount of money that feels really achievable for you. So when I opened up the cafe and I needed to raise money, the idea of raising $50,000 or $40,000 felt unfathomable. That was beyond my reach. In the same way that $2 million felt unachievable to, thank you very much, felt unachievable to Rhonda. Yeah. Right? It felt like a stretch, but it didn't feel like a swallow my tongue and go hide under the table kind of stretch to ask for $5,000. So when I went out in those 3 weeks, I called people and said, I need $5,000. I actually need more than that, but from individual people, I need $5,000 towards opening up the cafe. Do you have any ideas as to how I go about doing that? Right? And it was by asking for an amount that felt, again, challenging and scary, but I could visualize $5,000 in a way that I couldn't visualize $50,000. Rhonda could visualize $50,000 in a way that she could not fathom $2 million, right? Maybe this is $100. Maybe this is $15. Maybe this is $1,000. However much for you feels easy, and then decrease it a little bit, right? So the amount doesn't matter. But if you were to take your current income and increase it by this amount a month, how much would that be? So let's just start. What's your number?
900.
900. Feels achievable?
Yes, because I want it to be 1,000, but I had to prices right it myself in my head in order to make it achievable. So 900 is more achievable than 1,000 for some reason.
All right. Rose?
500.
Okay.
Same seas.
500?
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, mine was like 80.
I've done this lots of times, and this is an exercise that you have this worksheet, you can do this, and I would encourage you to do this on your own monthly or quarterly going forward. Mine today, or a couple of days ago when I did this, was 3,000, but I've done it everywhere from 50,000 to literally $1, right? And every single time I do this exercise, I get something new out of it. What are 15 different ways that you could make that extra a month? Not thinking like, oh, well, I already work 40 or 80 hours a week and I don't have more time, but it's like, cool, I could go walk dogs. Or I could literally, I walk by CVS on a regular basis and I see the get a job sign and I'm like, I could always go get a job at CVS, right? If worst case scenario, it'd be $10 an hour, but I could go do that.
Yeah.
So when we ask our people in our lives for ideas around this, we come up with right? I could teach people, I'm only just thinking about this because I'm like, what have I taught recently? Oh, I've been teaching my 5-year-old nephew how to use gymnastics rings. It's like, oh, cool, I have personal trainer down, but go around being an expert on rings. And I'm not an expert on rings, but I can teach some basics on gymnastics rings. That's something that could go down, right? This is a creative exercise, and yet we get so caught up in what you're doing, Rose, which is why I'm kind of picking on you a little bit.
No, it's great.
But I could teach someone about cameras. But like, I don't know about cameras, but I guess I know more than they do, right? I could do art photography like I do for my mom. I'm not nearly the photographer or videographer that Angela is, but like, I guess I could do that. We're gonna go through this and an exercise around it and say, which of these do I actually want to do? Which of these actually make sense, right? For me right now, how much does it actually make sense to be a dog walker? Nah. I literally, like, the first thing I wrote down, second thing I wrote down is get a job at a cafe. Like, I owned a cafe, I have a lot of different sources of income, but I know so clearly that I could walk into any cafe in the Bay Area and say, hey, I need a job, and granted, it's $12 or $15 an hour before tax, but I have that security. And so if there's nothing else that you come away with from this weekend, it's that sense of, oh, I have opportunities and I could take care of myself.
Yeah.
If push comes to shove, I have ways of taking care of myself, right? You've been a videographer, you've been a carpenter, right?
Yeah.
Like, fantastic. You don't want to do those things forever? Totally fine and understood, and you can always take care of yourself by offering those services, by getting paid, enough, right? Like, making $15 at a coffee shop 40 hours a week is not a living wage in the Bay Area, but I can survive. I wouldn't be living here, I'd probably be living in my parents' basement, right? But I could survive. And so there's both the aspirational of this, which we're going to get into, and there's the just basics. It's like, cool, I want an extra $100 a month. How much do I want that extra $100 a month versus like, I'll go get a job at CVS. And I'll be extra motivated because I'm working at CVS 10 hours a week to like get my ducks in a row and get really clear as to what I want and move towards that much more efficiently, right? Rather than being stuck in that sense of, I don't know how to go from where I am to where I want to be, and so I remain frozen. There's so much that I certainly have done in my life, and I think all of us can relate to, of fear and of freezing.
Yeah.
Because there's so much shame, there's so much guilt, there's so much uncertainty around money. But there's this distinction of one time versus ongoing, right? So if I work an hour and get paid an hour, that's a one-time thing. If I sell that lamp, I don't have that lamp to sell again.
Right.
But if I go buy something or get something at an estate sale for $2 and sell it for $10 on eBay, that's reoccurring, right?
Yeah.
So that could probably be two different things on your list. Clean out my closet and sell it versus sell other people's things on eBay. One of those is a one-time thing, the other is an ongoing thing. We have a gift that our parents didn't, right? That you didn't grow up with, of the internet. And using the interface of people will trade time for money, right? If you help me build my wardrobe, I'm willing to pay for that because that saves me a lot of time and effort. And you're bringing an eye that I value and right, all of these pieces. And so going hunting, especially in a domain that you already have expertise, finding things that you know or that you suspect, right, test it like Jasmine's describing, are going to be, you can buy for cheaper than you can resell. And then sell them. Sell them on eBay, sell them on Amazon, sell them on Craigslist, sell them in person, right? I like that. But there is, it's actually surprisingly easy to earn an extra couple of hundred to even a couple of extra $1,000 a month doing that nights and weekends, doing that in 10 hours a week. And it provides so much, again, that emotional security of like, oh cool, I know I can take care of myself. That's not how I want to do things forever, that's not how I want it, but I know I could do that to survive. I also don't have to then get a full-time job working at CVS, right? And that can give me the stability while I figure out what else I'm going to do. So whatever that domain is for you, buying and reselling, especially right now, right? It wasn't this good 10 years ago, it might not be this good 5 years from now, but it's really good right now. Like, that couch someone left out on the street, that dog bed, that dog crate someone left on the street, that's a $250 couch, that's a $50 crate. I needed them. Someone left out like a spin bike down the street, right? Like literally if you have a car, you just drive around Marin and pick stuff up.
San Francisco too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like
there
such
is
a unique
so
Bay Area thing.
much that you can do there, and you flip it.
Sell it.
So we have some back pain videos on the Motion website. I can sell a bunch of those. I could also get a 40-hour-a-week job at a cafe, right? Selling back pain videos feels like an ongoing to me because that's having online folks who are interested in the content we're creating Cafe job, 40 hours a week, I would call that a one-off. Professional dog walker, also professional dog trainer. Dog walker, that feels like a one-off. Dog trainer, because those clients are likely to repeat, that feels more to me like ongoing. Getting one new client to do video gigs with Angela and with Willow. That feels like a 3. Finding that client, and that's my total number was 3,000, like that would cover that. An online puer store, right? I've done a physical brick and mortar cafe, but I've never sold tea online. That feels like a 6, but that's ongoing, right? Because once I have that store up and running and people buying things from that store, okay.
Oh, so if it's like a 10 and it's a one-off, it might not be worth it. But if it's a 10 but it's ongoing, it's like, oh, you did the initial
Yeah,
work.
I think about 1 through 10 as like my own fear around it.
Yeah, me too.
You know, run an annual dance event. So like Fusion Exchange when that used to happen.
Yeah.
Right, like that's what I'm thinking about. That I put as a 6. I put that as a once. But like, I don't know, if I had a lot of spare time, that would be so rewarding for me as a way to give to the dance community. Like, I could do that. I could hire a bunch of my friends. I know a bunch of promoters, right? Like I know people who could provide food for that. Like that would just be it'd be a big undertaking, but that would be fun. Business tutor for high school students. So like someone in high school, their parents want them to learn some entrepreneurial skills. Like I could totally provide enormous value there and work with that kid.
Fuck.
I put that down as a 4. Maybe it's a 5, 4 or 5, right? But that would be an ongoing thing. Responsive sponsorship, right? We sell sponsorship to the annual conference that I put on. It's like a no-brainer. It's like a 2 or a 3, and that's like $5,000 or $10,000 per sponsor, right? Doing something for myself versus doing something for somebody else. The more you get specific and look for the variety around the thing, it's like, oh cool, I have this skill set, how can I apply it? I'd never thought of, in my life, I'd never thought about teaching high school students about business. But like, that seems like such a sweet thing to do, like 5 hours a